Hey guys, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today I want to talk about emotions and what I'm going to call the emotional middle ground. As you know, if you've been studying this TMS stuff, this mind-body stuff, Dr. Sarno theorized it has a lot to do with repression, the automatic repression. And I believe it goes more than that, and you've heard me talk about unresolved emotions. And unresolved emotions, in my case, in my belief, is emotions that we repress automatically. We don't even know it's happening. It happens outside of our awareness. That's repression. It's a protection mechanism, because your brain says, we've been taught, we've learned, we've decided that these emotions are not acceptable, so anytime they come into our life, they are immediately pushed away. You're not even aware of it. It happens outside of your awareness. That's repression. Dr. Sarno believed that repression was the primary mechanism behind what he called TMS. I believe there are more than just repressed emotions that are at the core of this problem. We have unresolved emotions, and in my opinion, unresolved emotions also include the emotions that we are consciously aware of, and we consciously resist, and we consciously push them away. That also means that it's an unresolved emotion. The third way that I believe we don't resolve emotions is if we do feel a certain emotion, let's say anger, and we cling to it and we hold on to it, and we're holding on to that grudge. We're holding on to that resentment and that bitterness. So in my case, or in my belief, repression, consciously resisted emotions, and also emotions we cling to are three ways that we get what we call unresolved emotions, right? And that's one end of the spectrum. Now, the other end of the emotional spectrum is explosive expression of emotions. So you've seen people like this. Perhaps you were raised by parents like this, that they were outwardly angry and outwardly sad and overly emotional. And that may have been where we learned that these emotions are not cool or acceptable. But I see a lot of comments coming through on Facebook where people say, but if I feel my emotions, I'm going to end up screaming at my husband or my wife or my kids or my parents or my boss, and I can't do that. So I can't feel my emotions. Or if I feel my sadness, I'm going to be in a pit of depression and I'll never come out, right? So unresolved emotions are what I just explained. Expressing emotions, as I joke, is like vomiting them on everybody around us. And as I refer to this term called the emotional middle ground, the middle ground is where the beauty is. It's not resisted, it's not pushed away, it's not automatically repressed, nor is it outwardly expressed or vomited or taken out on those around us. But the emotional middle ground is simply for you. Feeling the emotions that you're feeling, not rejecting them, not judging yourself for them, not outwardly blowing up at everybody around us. The emotional middle ground is the safety ground, because I will acknowledge that expressing emotions on everybody around us does have social consequences, which can seem scary or dangerous, because we can really screw up relationships with people that matter. And on the contrary, all of the unresolved emotions that we resist and we push away, that's also a dangerous territory, because we're not allowing ourselves to feel the emotions that we're actually experiencing. And so I'm encouraging you to find the middle ground. You don't have to express emotions to get better from this mind-body syndrome and this TMS and this distraction pain and this stress illness. You've just got to feel them. So find that middle ground, right? Learn that resisting the emotions is what is bad for us and what causes the deregulation or dysregulation of our nervous system, causing pain, our immune system and digestive system, causing all sorts of symptoms. So it is the resistance to experiencing something that is just a part of the human condition. Emotions are normal. They're a part of being human. And by resisting that part of us and deciding that I can't feel these negative emotions because X, Y, and Z will happen, you're really just setting yourself up for trouble later on down the line, right? It's that resistance that causes the problem. Or it's clinging to these emotions and not letting go of the story as to why you're so pissed off. It's not ever being able to forgive yourself or others. It's the inability to resolve these emotions. And when I say resolve your emotions, it's nothing more complicated than feeling them, experiencing them, and then once they've been experienced, they will pass all on their own. And the reason you know that is because think about an experience that you were pissed off about 3 weeks ago, that it wasn't that significant, so you allowed yourself to feel it, and now how are you? You're not nearly as pissed off. Why? Because that emotion came in, was felt, and naturally reduced and released itself. That's what I call resolving emotions. So the emotional middle ground is not resistance, or it's not clinging to the stories and the ruminating on why you're so pissed off. The emotional middle ground is not expressing and vomiting these emotions on other people, because, by the way, that doesn't make us feel better, and it certainly doesn't make them feel better. And now you've got all the guilt for taking out your anger on somebody else, and now you've got the relationship consequences with those people that you just vomited your emotions on. So the middle ground is the gold. The middle ground is where we want to be. The middle ground is the safety zone, really. So for those people who say, I can't feel my emotions, they're dangerous, they're scary, I melt down, I break down, I go into depression. Or for those people who say, I can't feel my emotions because then I'm going to be a lunatic and blow up my relationships with those I'm close with. Just know there's a third choice, and that's the middle ground. It's in between resistance and expression. It's called feeling. So when the TMS experts say, feel your emotions, feel your feels, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about wash away the resistance. And look, for the automatically repressed emotions, this belief that these emotions are dangerous, so they have to be repressed, and our subconscious does it automatically, that's where this daily practice comes into play. Because little by little, you're going to rewire your brain through practice and repetition. And I'm going to feel the emotions, and I'm going to soothe myself afterwards, and know and learn and teach the brain that you are in fact safe and that you can handle these emotions. And little by little, the brain's going to start saying, oh, look, this is how we handle emotions now moving forward. And the repression that happened automatically for much of our life is going to slow down and slow down. And I'm not saying it's ever going to stop completely, but it's going to slow down considerably to the point where it no longer creates all of these mind-body symptoms and pains. And so find that middle ground where you say, I'm safe because I'm not going to explode. I'm not going to build up like a pressure cooker and explode my anger and rage and sadness at everybody around me. Nor are you going to resist it. At a conscious level, you're not going to cling to these emotions and cling to the resentment and the grudges that you've got. And, that brings up the topic of forgiveness. What is forgiveness? It's nothing more complicated than choosing, and I use that word a lot, but choosing to pull your attention away from that person you're angry with. And by removing your attention and your focus from that person or situation that you are angry with, it dissipates, right? That's not resistance. It's actually choice. So the middle ground, the emotional middle ground, does this concept make sense to you? Does it give you an option that perhaps was not as obvious before. You know, the resistance doesn't help us. We've proved that. It's been tearing a lot of us up for a lot of years. And for those of us who still resist these emotions, there's a backpack analogy, right? Just because we're resisting and pushing the emotions away doesn't mean that we're not carrying them. We are, but we're now carrying them in our bodies. And all of this anger and bitterness that we don't want to feel is being redirected to our bodies, and then we wonder why we're hurting. And all of these emotions, which we're really trying our best not to feel, are just like loading them into a backpack. And, you know, if you feel like the weight of the world is on you and you're trudging around with this heavy backpack full of these negative, dark emotions, that's why. Look, if you allow yourself to feel them, they'll release. You don't have to carry them around with you, right? There's no reason you have to be carrying around the negative anger that you've got towards, in my case, my father, for stupid shit he did 15 years ago, 40 years ago, right? Empty out the backpack. We don't need that any longer. Give yourself permission to feel. The emotions will release. Find that middle ground, folks. You don't have to resist these emotions. They're not dangerous. You just have to teach your brain that. Because so far your brain believes they are dangerous. And for anybody who goes, yeah, but when I feel my emotions, my pain spikes, so they are dangerous, you just haven't taught your brain yet. So, I wanted to make that point. There is an emotional middle ground. That is where you can get some peace of mind, peace within your heart. And when you start to allow these emotions to flow through you as they are intended to, your body can learn to kind of regulate and return to normal. So find that emotional middle ground. It's where the beauty is. It's where the safety is. And you don't have to explode your emotions at everybody around you in order to feel better. You just have to feel them. So give yourself permission to feel them. Find that middle ground. And comment below. Let me know if this was useful, if this is beneficial, if it helps you feel your emotions a little bit better, with a little bit more feeling of safety. And safety is important. So, love you guys and gals. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your attention. And more so, I really appreciate you doing something with the information I'm sharing and getting better. Because nothing makes me happier than hearing from people who say, I had a breakthrough, I'm doing better, I had this happen, I had that happen, and thank you so much, and that's why I'm doing this stuff. So I love you guys and gals. Keep me posted on how you're doing. If you like this message, share it, and let me know your thoughts. So we'll talk to you soon.